Alright, so who's ready for one Keiichi Maebara to continue making only the best decisions? That's what we're doing today. It's going to be fantastic. We're making very good decisions. Jetstorm's ready. Alright. Done all the tips. Let's just get it going. We've got a plan. We're putting it into action. Jitterbug, baby! Sunday. The fireworks I heard from noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival, and the weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. Just hit Xenoblade's big... Oh, the big turn in Xenoblade. Yeah. So now it's Keiichi time. The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight. So for as long as it wasn't raining, at the moment, the festival would go on. Super big turn. Yeah, I know what turn you're talking about. The festival had to open, or it wouldn't begin. That's some logic there, Keiichi. Very smart. The Furude Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that only happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in auspicious colors of red and white. The sound of electric motors at the stalls, the voices of kids running around, their happy families watching them smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Watanagashi, it's good. Like, only good things come from Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering just for a few moments, while smiling in the brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This will probably be the longest day of my life. Don't fucking squish me! What the fuck are you doing, Zuki? You can't do that in my chat! That is illegal! That's illegal in at least 46 states! This would probably be the longest day of my life. It would be a day I would remember vividly for as long as I lived. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounged about during the early afternoon. Yo, Sayara. How's it going? Welcome. We may have lived under the same roof, but we couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spent my time. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as I expressed the firmness of my resolve in these knots. This boy is... like, these are murder knots I've got in my shoes. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement, I almost went crazy. Wow, Zuki. I cannot believe... you're lucky that I like you. You're lucky that I like you, or I would not tolerate this nonsense going on in my chat right now. And when I was planning to murder the act of murder, which is directly against all morals fostered in me thus far, I was in such a state of calm I almost thought I had lost my emotions. Now I'm just dead. And then yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made exactly the same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then, and now, entering today, right now, I lacked all the emotions I had possessed until now. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything very clearly. I had no anger towards the man for the violence he'd committed against Satoko. Nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends who had just waited and watched, never reaching out to her with any help, and no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes, right now you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. We are at optimal murder condition, everybody. Peak murder. Hey, June, welcome. We've arrived with Keiichi Maebara being at peak murder condition, so things should go well, it sounds like. When it came down to it, I'd probably need to let my violent emotions take control, but right up until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective, and then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. There was no emotion in that, just the creeping mindset of insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way, thinking like an insect. God damn it! Tug! What are they keep doing it? Why do they keep giving me this text box? Just an impromptu tug session, no biggie. How many tugs is that this chapter? Is this like 4? Not even 10 minutes in, and this boy is already tugging. Wow. Might as well call him Zookie Wookie. He's just in here tugging all over the place. I hear that's what Zookie does on his stream. He tugs, like, non-stop. Everybody follows Zookie Wookie, by the way. He's good people. I tied my laces one more time and walked over to the door. One last tug before you do a murder. I mean, that's probably normal, right? I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I would need it to dig a man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one made for camping. If I twisted like so and split it in 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. Clipping them tugs. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self, deep within me, was hesitant. I knew the act of dismantling this shovel was the first step I'd take in becoming a murderer. Yo, Alrock, how's it going? We're in peak murder condition. We're about to commit a murder. It's gonna be fun. I hope you're doing well. Zookie, I am not bullying you at all. I literally just told everybody in my chat to follow you. That's my mea culpa for you thinking that I bullied you. I apologize that you feel bullied. Doing great now that you get to witness a murder. It's fantastic. We're doing it for a good reason, though. Like, somebody's abusing a friend of ours. So we're going to do the logical thing and murder their face. Someone say, murder? The last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. The area around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity, but even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. With how long the day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. I was superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in a grove a little further into the woods. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly as expected. I took another look around. Not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I took the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then I stuck the tip of the shovel into the soft-looking patch of ground and pushed it in with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into the foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. I was just digging a hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Let's do a countdown. Let's do a countdown to murder, everybody. It's punishment time! Hey, After 5, welcome. Yes, you are here to witness good decisions. Everybody's on their way to good decisionville. Keiichi Maebara is tuning up the band for his smash hit. TikTok, TikTok. Get it done on a count of 3, okay? Alright, 1, 2, 3. How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a grave you're digging to put a man in? I couldn't do it on a countdown despite just sticking the shovel into the ground, and I had to count down 5 or 6 times. Damn it, I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put strength into my heel like I was stepping into something unpleasant, and split came a sharp noise. There we go. There we go. Now we're digging a grave like a man should. It was only soft at the beginning. It was only soft at the beginning, everybody. Then you just gotta tug a little bit. Roots and stones quickly got in the way, informing me of how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would ever come by here anyway. Maybe it would be enough to cover him up with some dirt. Every time a naive thought that crept into my mind, I bit down with my teeth and dug even harder. I've dug enough now. I would hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go down into the hole, grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops that fell into the ground. My back was in an even worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin, and it felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted to the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot. It was disgusting. I was sticky. I was itchy. All these uncomfortable feelings surged throughout me in waves. Let's not make those kind of jokes in here, please, Zuki. I don't really... No. Let's not go there. I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me telling myself... Yeah, I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself, me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way and digging a hole all the way out here? What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school or even before that, my whole life had only been me doing what other people told me. It's okay, Zuki. I know that, like, you know, a lot of places it's fine to do that kind of thing, but I you know, given my own situation, I don't really, you know, it's cool though. There's no hard feelings. Don't worry about it. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained, living life based on the commands of others. And I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. A road toward murder. I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in a line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average, and it wasn't like the captains of the dodgeball teams would have a passionate rock, paper, scissors contest to see who would get me. During these kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. The thing that turned all of that around was just a few words from my mother.
Keiichi, あなた塾に入る気はない？学校の勉強がわかるようになって楽しくなるわよ。
The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test with the same exact problem dozens of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with the manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Fun in school? Nobody has that! Several days later, I went to cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussions, and I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said, but I clearly remember one point. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something.
61って平均点が61点ですか？
いえ、違いますよ、お母さん。全国展開する当塾での平均偏差値が61です。簡易式の知能検査でも非凡な数字が出ています。
Yo, our boy's a genius.
まず申し上げて、前原圭一君は大変に頭がいい。
圭一が？でも学校では大した成績じゃありませんし、通信簿も2、3、4が適当に並ぶ平均的なもので、何かの間違いではありませんか？
いくつかの知能テストとも重ねましたが、その結果興味深いことが分かりました。前原君は意味を持たない問題に非常に弱いのです。無味乾燥で自身の生活に結びつかない内容の問題に興味が持てないのです。
He's book smart, not street smart.
2+3 は分からなくても、リンゴが2個あって3個増やしたら何個にという形なら理解できるということですか？
その通りです。例えば正六面体の展開図を書けと言われて混乱する圭一君も、サイコロを切り開いたらどんな形になるというふうに聞けば見事に答えられるのです。
I don't know, because I think street smart would be more being able to make a good or bad decision versus murder. Whereas book smart, it's like, man, I can I can I can tear apart a dice and tell you what it looks like in the middle with my brain. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, and they were really cool, weren't they?
正二十面体の展開図を書けという問題です。この問題を二十面体のサイコロを作るにはどんな風に厚紙を切ればいいと聞き直したら、圭一君はさも簡単そうにこれを書いてみせました。これは平凡なことではありません。
ケイチ、あなたどこかの本の雑誌の付録か何かで二十面体のサイコロを作ったことがあ
Yeah,
ったの？
that's a good way to put it. Jesse Pinkman and Walter White. Keiichi is definitely more of a Walter White in that scenario. Dice only went from 1 to 6. I'd never even considered before a test that there were dice with more than 6 sides, so it was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I could win at dice games against anyone. So I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered a cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower classes, and when I remembered how much better they had done things like that, like dodgeball and a 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't as good as them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teachers at school suddenly started pampering me, and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too. I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. That did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in self-deprecation because, well, my studious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning that I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got along less with my friends. My classes were behind when I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And well, I was a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew. And the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in a state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told and then go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. It's exactly how life is. Life is like just a bicycle. And when I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized how inadequate it was. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And then my father, he had a place that he liked, and he'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. He started saying that he wanted to bring his atelier there. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. After that, I met them, didn't I? The first day of transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought that it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot in the room. I'm not even that stoked for Deadly Premonition 2 is the problem, because I feel like they're leaning into that game being bad in a lot of ways on purpose, and it feels really fakey to me. Like all the video I've seen of it, it seems intentionally bad, whereas I think people are remembering Deadly Premonition as being bad when it really wasn't bad in the ways that they think that it was bad. It just kind of feels like they're very purposefully leaning into, hey, look how bad this game is. It's like a B movie. And I don't think that should be the point at all. So I feel real weird about that game right now. As somebody who really likes the first one, and I've played it multiple times, and it's just like, that game is not bad in the ways people think that it is bad. So the way that they're leaning into the way Deadly Premonition 2 is bad feels really disingenuous to me. The thrilling, powerful way I opened the door was none other than my own determination to trying to do my life over again. And then, within seconds, the determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there was a huge rock inside, a supremely painful trap for someone had set up. Oh, come on. Satoko was already beating me right from the first day I transferred. That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised that the students in the class were all in different grades and were different genders. It was because the room felt completely different than the schools I knew, and as I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. Yeah, like I'm sure that there's probably a good story there, but like all the stuff that they're putting out about that game is very intentionally drawing attention to, hey everybody, this game has a real bad frame rate. Look how crappy it is when you go outside. It's literally sub 10 frames a second. And like they're really weirdly proud of that. And that's really kind of what they want the discourse around the game to be. And I feel that we're losing the plot here of what we should be talking about with regards to what Deadly Premonition should be, because that first game had a pretty good story and it had a pretty good atmosphere and some really good writing. It feels like focusing on the difficulty of Dark Souls when that game is primarily about atmosphere and the lived-in world, but we turned it into, oh man, Dark Souls is hard, and that's the only thing people talk about. I would hope so, because the performance looks absolutely dreadful, and they're really leaning into it and calling attention to it, like I said. The fresh sense of surprise I had never felt in my life, even on this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I'd never had a single boring day since coming here. I mean, I get that, but I feel that that's just what they're focusing on. I respect it a little, but I feel that that's really all they're focused on. I don't know anything about Deadly Premonition 2 other than it runs bad. Because all of the shit they've put out about it has just been, hey, look at this bad gameplay. Like, I don't know anything about the story. None of the trailers that I've seen have had anything regarding that. The days were lively, spent with other club members. We played old maids with cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all of our passions go wild during our games. And remember the happy times? We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town and many, many more things. Recently, during these times, there was a bento competition. It was then that I saw an unexpected side to Satoko. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. It was such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. And I vowed to become her Nini. Yeah, the way they handled the old maid scene in the anime is really good. It's pretty funny. Satoko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm and sunny days. Yeah, I remember when, the biggest problem was literally almost burning the house down. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that so many times, but I did anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path, to take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You didn't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself, and you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I chose to see very far down, not like the road parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that disheartening path would keep on going forever. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed of breaking through that brightly lit paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to the bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. When I next realized that the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all this myself? Yeah, imagine getting this as your graduation message. I put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging the hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening, and I hadn't realized it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a long time. I took a seat on the slanted rock nearby and wiped the sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bat I hid in the schoolyard. Then I would make the call to lure him out. And then I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt that, a contradiction. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate and turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for it when the time was right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all week because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed of hesitating to kill, because I was human. It was so funny to me that I'd be the bearer of Oyashiro-sama's curse at the same time I was aware that I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around me. Okay, let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one forced me to walk. No, I did not pick up Garfield Kart 2 on the summer sale.
Maebara Keiichi.
The cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot. And their chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I would be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. Yeah, when the cicadas are your cheerleaders. The sky was far above. Not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I left Satoko's fate up to a public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes. When the Higurashi cried, "Title drop!" That's some cute visual novel language there. The way they handled that. That was actually really cool. That was a title drop. Indeed it was. Yeah, the only stuff I picked up on the Steam sale, somebody sent me a Toho fan game. What is it called? What was that? Hold on. Because I'm excited to play it. Take a moment here. Yeah, Tempest of Heavens and Earth. It's a game where you play as Tenshi Hinanai, and that game seems really rad. I picked up... God, what else? I picked up the Umineko games. Rhett sent me the Answer arcs last night. And I grabbed Steins Gate Elite. Yeah, Dab on Darkness. I got that as well. We'll be streaming that at some point. Me and Beepner will handle that like we did the Notori game. What else? Yeah. And now, yeah, the Steins Gate Elite came with Linear Bound Phenogram, which, like, I don't think there's any other way to get that. But yeah, I got a few things, but I didn't really go crazy. There wasn't a whole lot of... Zuki got, like, 18 porn games, though. He's trying to act like somebody sent them to him, But he bought like 18, 20 porn games. The only thing you got was Phoenix Wright. Good. The Phoenix Wright games are good. There was nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. This was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human presence. You didn't buy any games. Sure, they were gifted, Zuki. I bet they were. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I had hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition, that someone had found the bat and hidden it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then the sensation of chilled metal. It was still there where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He waited here patiently. Garfield Kart 2 is a pseudonym for the porn game Entourage. You watched Strikers 1945. Nice. Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know. I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself. Let's show him a bad time. Keiichi is confirmed as Sans Undertale. Satoshi's bag got lighter and lighter and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. I didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course, it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding the one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. I couldn't use the school phone. Could I use the school phone? But as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. You should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And for that, was today all over. And just for that, was today all over. I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivete, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man, the one from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around his pocket and unlocked the door and entered. The best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sections of the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office's storehouse, which was so far in the back students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along silently and stealthily and made it into the teacher's lounge. This was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the forest officer walking back over. Then the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window of the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike and, like nothing happened, and rode out of the school gate. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house's phone number out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house now, where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Despite how many times I'd gone over it in my head last night, now that I had my finger on the dial like this, I started to seep out from my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Oh no, not a cracked bucket! No, we don't need a cracked bucket. We got another bucket, don't worry. If there's a bucket with a crack in it, I've got this taken care of. Don't worry, everybody. It's fine. We got a bucket. Simple would be best. More importantly, to stay straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and then spun the dial. The call sound would make Satoko's uncle pick up. Now of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up, and the feeling of doom in the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't, whirled around like a vortex. Uh-oh. We got him on the line, everybody. Time to do a Jerky Boy's voice.
This is Saul. Hello? This is Saul Rosenberg. I have hemorrhoids real bad. I've got them all up in my ass flaps.
It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he had just woken up. He picked up. Say your name, I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It was terrible, as if I got it wrong. I made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Time for it's gonna be an epic prank, isn't it? I made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go.
こちらは下根市沖宮警察です。北条さんのお宅ですか?
I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police?
はい、北条ですけど。
今、お宅のお嬢さんの北条聡子さんをこちらで保護しています。
She did a bad. Can you believe what she did with an eraser and a rock inside of it to one of our officers?
え、聡子があいつ何かやらかしおりましたか?
He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my
詳しい
words.
事情はこちらにいらしてからご説明します。すぐにこちらへ来ていただくことはできますか?
今ですか? 風呂に入っちゃったからあんまし表に出たかないんですがね。
What? You don't want to come because you already took a bath?
今すぐです。
すぐ。ったく。聡子のやつ何をしちゃったんですか?
詳しい話はこちらでいたします。ではお待ちしていますのでよろしくお願いします。
ちょっと俺警察署がどこかわかんないんだけど、どこよ場所?
Uh-oh. You moron, what the hell? The Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Oh no! Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
消防署の隣でしたっけ? 遠いな.
Thank goodness he remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was so long as he left his house to get
で
there.
はお待ちしていますので。
俺警察行ったら誰んとこ訪ねればいいんよ。あんた名前は?
Oishi. Kurado Oishi. On top of that, he wanted to know my name. Just leave your goddamn house already.
前橋と申します。
Maebashi! Smooth cover there, Keiichi.
では失礼します。
That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllable. He's so smart! John Cop! Put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. Just as I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene with my bike. If Satoko's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. Keiichi Maebara! He'd learned that there was no one at the station named Maebashi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed family wearing yukatas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hinamizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in this area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back as fast as possible to control my breathing and ambush the man. I hid my bike in the thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I'd just left hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here, or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already. I couldn't figure out which it was, and I was set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Even if he came here already, he'd pass by here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. It couldn't change the fact that he'd die. He'd probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it would be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed and beat him out of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him as hard as I could and made him lose his balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. Who's getting nervous now? Oh boy. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from the sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little farther, he'd cross into that thicket and appear in front of me. I'd take that moment to make sure it was him, and when I had, I put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike, without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at the characteristics again. Its color, shape, and most of all, the man's clothes and face. Those last feelings of hesitation, I did away with them. Satoko, now, your Nini will end it, okay? Hey John, welcome! You are here and you've arrived at the good part, I assume is what we would call this. Closer, closer. The bike came closer. Let's go, Satoshi. What? Whoosh! I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder and basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally, it fell on the bike, scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning, it stopped. Her uncle tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened, and grunted for a few moments, crouched on the ground. Uh-oh. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, what was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a moment ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away like the strings they had been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle to my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Keiichi Maebara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape, scrape. I stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, another step, then another towards Satoko's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with frost. Yes, at this moment, the sky had lost permission to live. I had just rescinded it. So he mustn't stay on this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Satoko's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. Ooh boy. I could feel the cooling substance going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked. That's all it took for it to hurt? Satoko's head hurt much more, and now you're gonna feel that? And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute. Oh, wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get at the most effective spot. At least during that first moment, I'd have to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. And if he was hit in the back of the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head, so he couldn't pick himself up off the heap he was now on in the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him in the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for the head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. It didn't care where anymore. Just by delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he'd made after seeing my face or deciding to fight me. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from a threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I was the most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky. And the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards people, but off into a path into the woods. How pleasant that he would make a run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into strange geography, like a rat that instinctively runs into tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my legs expanded and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became a wind-like shadow and dashed. I crossed thickets, crashed dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need as much to blink an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, and body were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I'd ever had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this from the first time, and that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like trying to get away from his own shadow, like he couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulder, his head, even from his natural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and begged pitifully for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. It felt sharp. I felt like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten, like an herbivore, running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept fleeing without even staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. But there was no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, a diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Satoko. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived. God! Listen to this guttural fucking howling! My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into someone specialized for murder, purely to devour the munitive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran. I'm impressed by how much you can run. Fine, run as much as you like. Run! You'll only die tired, bitch! I'll be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, and your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, then by all means, stop anytime. Run, little rabbit, run! No one runs faster than you can. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror at the approaching death, he ran shamefully onward. He ran, and as he chased, his head bashed into the metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came sounds of coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying, and pleas for forgiveness to someone I didn't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I had granted him. Now run, little rabbit. Go, run in the blades of that grass. Then fall and moan and die. Where did you even crawl out of, anyway? You were never here before. If you were never here, you never should have showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the storage food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Neon would surely make it into a competition, and we as a club would have a grand time. And everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance, and everyone would say how fun it was, and how it gave us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny, warm times spent with friends, and that would have happened, but it didn't, and now it was all smashed to pieces. There was no doubt that would be what the world was like if you never showed up. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the heresy in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so that this last week never happened. Tonight was the Watanagashi Festival, the holy night where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, and it looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cried, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one, the hour of atonement is at an end. The Higurashi have stopped their crying, thus it is the end. The end, the end, the end. You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Ooh. Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the one before. The metal bat crunched into the crown of his head, and it was like the top of his head had caved in. The bat felt like it was biting him. It had been the final killing attack that visited him. When I didn't overlook the opening, he left and his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a few more moments, then thud, thud. He planted both knees in the ground and then fell forward, burying his face in the ground. I had been holding back my ragged breathing, but now it all came out of me like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light, and unable to maintain my balance, I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try to guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him for sure? I fought back my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood, and I drew towards him carefully, bat still at the ready. It was possible he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. If I thought he might be faking it, then I would just have to keep pummeling him until he was satisfied. I fought back my ragged breathing again, and then I swung my bat far above and brought it down. Clunk. His body leaped like a bow. It didn't try to cover his head. Then, once again, I aimed for his head and swung. His reaction was the same this time. Jesus! After spending a few moments making his head into mochi, the hits gradually started to feel indifferent, and it started to spray filthy dark red liquid everywhere. That was enough. It was enough. It was definite now. I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Satoko's uncle, nor pity towards Satoko herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point. And how uncomfortable it felt. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. In exchange, my shoes were so wet they made splashing sounds. And despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were very few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different from before. Instead, it had been stained with black, with red, with mud and blood. But that itself would be evidence. The one piece of evidence needed to prove that my delusions hadn't just been daydreams and that I'd ended Satoko's uncle for all eternity. Alright, Keiichi, calm your mind. The time for passion is over. Now is the time to be as cold as ice. I needed to bury the body. But where was I? I simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. I couldn't take a guess as to how far we'd ran. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had to go on was the very faint lights in the road a little further down. It was dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good I could see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores on his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I had mustered in that moment. I went over to the streetlight. I looked up and down the road desperately trying to figure out where I was. Yeah, like, we need to kind of just get rid of everything. Yeah, and this music. Like, this tune in particular has to come up now. Well, he did dig the grave already. It's just, he didn't anticipate Teppei running as far as he did, so he's probably a bit disoriented as to where the grave is at now. But yeah, he already dug the grave. You don't want to have to go back to where you did the murder and dig the grave. That can be really emotionally taxing. Oh no. This was the road connecting Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far away from Satoko's house. Had the two of us really run so far a distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by knowledge that of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location where I dug the hole. There was no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike the man took here was still lying in the middle of the path. That would be an issue. The police could tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at the license plate. They wouldn't just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in the dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first, and I wanted to get the shovel back where I'd left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body here. I would have to deal with that. I would have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour, and it was more sludgy here than where I was before. I may be able to dig a grave quickly here. Of course, my bicycle was still over where I'd left it too. It still wasn't over. Homicide had only been half of my goal. The other half would be just as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing a beginning to happen. Yeah, that was an afterward reference. Yes, I will be self-referential about my own games. I would erase the man like he'd never existed and regain the peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable, and for a while I let my desire have its way. After confirming that I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass at the roadside. Considering how it looked, pelted with rain and covered with mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a very long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle into the swamp. The swamp was a bit of a walk from here. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it would be so heavy. I was a little surprised, but once I had it upright, it was fairly easy to roll it along. Still, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was really not something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me of numerous times how far away the swamp was. This motorcycle, I wonder if I could ride it well enough. Once I got it going, it would be basically the same as a bicycle. Wouldn't it get me to the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion, the anxiety by getting on the motorcycle for the first time withdrew. I turned the key, and then you just kick the pedal, right? Yeah. Vroom. It's on! And then I gripped the handlebars, first the right, then the left. Maybe I twisted them too much. The bike lurched and did a wheelie like an angry horse. I lost it for a second, but it was just a problem of how much torque to apply. Let's try that again. This time, slowly, gently. This time it went well. It was strange to be on a two-wheeled vehicle that would go even if it didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Mion once told me that you could get a scooter license within a day, and she was clearly right. This was pretty easy. I needed to throw the metal bat into the swamp too, but I didn't know how I would pack the bat onto the motorcycle. Without much other choice, I stuffed it into the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. He's so manly! Yeah, like first time riding a bike in a wet forest. Yeah, that's kind of a bad move. Without much other choice, I stuffed it into the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. If I put the tip down the seat of my pants and hunched over, it wouldn't fall out. I got back on the bike, and this time got going without any difficulty. I carefully pressed the button labeled light, and rather a strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. I probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing at this point, and had zero confidence I could ride through the darkness. As the rain came down on me, I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way toward the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me. They were either all soaked through with the rain and hurrying their ways home, or they had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday, I might have been wary of these passerby, but right now, it didn't seem to be much for concern. In fact, it would probably be less suspicious to be riding out in open like this instead of sneaking around. More and more, though, I started to think of the idea as naive, brought on by my exhausted state. I climbed a steep hill. On a bike, the hill would have put me out of breath, but I had to just accelerate a little bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. For a moment, its lights illuminated the sign before I passed by it. Onigafuchi Swamp / good children do not play around here. Well, I think we've far surpassed that whole good children thing. Like, doing a murder might put you in the not good children category. We're probably fine. The swamp is for us. Still, it wasn't like the way the swamp was cordoned off by a metal fence or anything. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp, but some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see the giant crayfish in the place. They'd talked before about how they'd go to the candy shop and buy some pickled squid and then just tie it to the fishing line and throw it, and all the crayfish would come running. He's probably on the naughty list right now. Once I got up to the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes around the trees. And as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp had waited for me. If I slammed onto the accelerator from the cliff-like stop I was on now, the thing would fly straight into the middle of the swamp. I had to be careful not to fall in with it. If I drowned and disappeared, man, what a stupid ghost story that would be. On the night of Tatarigoroshi, Satoko's uncle's corpse was found in a thicket by the road leading to town, and Keiichi Maebara went missing. People would whisper that I'd been demoned away. The 5th year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let go just when it seemed like it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and was swallowed down by the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I'd imagined. Its surface was being pummeled by the downpour, and a muddy, filthy water was flowing into it. I couldn't even make out the motorbike anymore. I had just thrown in there. It was pretty heavy after all. It would be quickly engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp, and it would be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing the man's motorbike down into the land of demons, but I did have a tinge of regret when I did it with Satoshi's bat. The muddy water washed off the gore, sticking to it, and sunk easily. I had sort of shared the day's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. This music? This music? Oh my god, this is too much. It had to be this track, right? That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning to the locker from before, so I could continue to keep watch over Satoko.
サトシ、俺、多分お前のこと誤解してた。
Satoshi listened quietly without nodding. I am absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Satoko. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away, but I was wrong. To the rest of the world, some deviant was behind that incident, but I know that was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that peace and lost it within days. So, I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for the both of us. I will live on as though this week, this day, never happened. But I will never forget this short time we shared together as long as I live. I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected the same girl, I felt he had smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved of its own accord. And the bat I had hesitated to throw away left my hands and flew through the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. That surface was tempestuous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment, I regretted having thrown it, but I realized that might have been what Satoshi had wanted.
そうだよな。
Yeah, why didn't he kiss the bat? You ain't even sorry. God damn it. There you go. I hope you enjoy that. I hope that was 6,000. I hope that was 6,969 points well spent. Crops, skin, etc.
俺はまだ感傷に浸る余裕なんかないんだよな。
I would return for my shovel, get on my bike, dig a hole to hide the body, and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted, and I had to do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with the only advice that I needed to finish this up soon. Then fell silent for eternity and disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. That was really interestingly poetic, kind of. The moment of tossing the bat away and giving that its own personification, it was really good. I returned to the path I had ambushed her uncle on. My bike was hidden, sleeping in the bush. I brushed it back. My whole body felt heavy, but I needed to finish by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I forgot something. I didn't just come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while I let my guard down. My vision would almost go black. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maebara. It's still not over. I went into the grove of trees and looked at the hole in which I had hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I had hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting to get seen, and now everything was black in the night, and I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was.
マジかよ。
He ain't buried the corpse yet, nope. The sweat the rain washed away before came back to my skin. Deep in the forest where the streetlights could never reach. The fact that it would be so pitch black it had been completely uncalculated. With this much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I had planned, I don't know if I still could have buried him without a problem. This also is very good tense music. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep into the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction. I might actually get lost in there. There might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain my ankle. Oh right, my house's storage room. There was another shovel there. The same fold-up kind. How do you lose a corpse? By being Keiichi Maebara, of course. Couldn't I go back to the house, get that shovel, and give up finding the shovel tonight? It's not as though the name Maebara is written on the shovel, but it seems like an unusual item from an important variety store made in another country, so I didn't want to leave that shovel here. But in this darkness, I couldn't do anything. I should give up and go back to the storage room, and there was an electric lantern in there. If I used that for light, I could look for it. But it was so extremely dark, could I light the way with just the lantern? The light of a lantern in this dark night. I couldn't discard the possibility it drawing eyes, and I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, I'd left the body there for a pretty long time already. My sense of fear, dulled through excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now, the most important thing was to hide the body. A shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal, but a corpse? If they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First, I'd go back to the storage room at home. Then I'd get the lantern. Now that it's gotten dark, it might still need light to dig a hole for the body, too. And I'd get the other shovel. And then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel, and bring it back. I had to do that at least that much, but I was so tired. But complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything will have been for naught. At some point, I had to sit down. I gritted my teeth and endured lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When would it all end? The night was young. This boy's got quite the night ahead of him. Like, there's still so much he needs to do. It's kind of ridiculous. But we'll be right back. I'm going to take like a 5-minute break. I'm going to get up, like get more water, do all that fun stuff. We're going to come back and we're going to finish the chapter. I'll leave you all with a visual presentation of Teppei Hojo after Maebara got through with him. What? This is it's John Thayer's John Thayer's unique cuisine. John Thayer only eats fancy food, as you can tell. This is either fancy food or the aftermath of a murder. I choose to believe it is the latter. Anyway, I'll be back in a couple more minutes. All right, let me just get this very God. God. The rain loop is 35 seconds long. Yeah, I loaded that up earlier. I was looking through the sound files, and yeah, I meant to replace the phone ringing, since the phone ringing is almost always supposed to be the sound when you're calling someone, and I meant to replace that, but I forgot to. No, that is not 1,500 seconds of rain. Alright. What other good decisions is Keiichi Maebara capable of making on this night? This rainy, dreary night. Let us continue. The lights at home were dazzlingly bright. Suddenly, they reminded me of how hungry I was. I checked. Hey, how hungry he was. Hey, I got you. I got you, Keiichi. Hold on, buddy. There you go. Keiichi's hungry, everybody. He's hungry. I got him covered. Oh, God. Hey, Jetstorm, welcome back. I checked the clock and saw that it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night. It's weird, like how killing somebody can distort your sense of time. The only thing that tastes worse than a corpse. I thought for sure 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night. There was a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond the curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited from the festival. I'd be talking to my parents about how much fun I had with all my friends. And then, even though they made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much at the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt I'd crawl into my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. It's these moments like, after he's done the murder, where he's like, he's very quickly realizing, oh shit, the new normal's really fucked up. These are really good moments where he's starting to have these realizations, and they're just kind of, they're being downplayed, they're not being played up yet. Right now, I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth from those weak street lights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family, and there was neither warm food nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. For that reason, I did need to kill someone, even if it felt... For that reason, did I need to kill someone, even if it felt this terrible? I lost sight of my purpose. I selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Satoko and executed it without hesitation. That man was dead. He was gone. He would never ever hurt Satoko again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem, and finally, with no options, we gave up, and I had solved it in one night, by myself, without anyone's help. Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing when he'd return, and she might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle would not come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath, nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I'd been thinking about for a long time was killing that man, and I'd forgotten the feeling that it was actually all to save her. I did something good! That's right. I did something good, didn't I? I'm admirable! I felt hot tears coming from my eyes, and that's when I first realized that the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt. For a while now, I had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much it was painful that I cried. I cried tears of joy at saving Satoko. I didn't know why, really, anymore. I just cried. My tears fell and fell, and as I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears, my heart was comforted a little. All right, Keiichi Maebara, that's enough. There's nothing to regret or feel ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow, the day after that, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was the indisputable fact that I had saved Satoko. One day, we would surely be rewarded. One day, I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise I had undertaken to get Satoko's smile back. And so that I could wait for that day, I had to put the finishing touches on this night. If I left it undone, everything I'd accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse this very moment. That pessimistic thought was proof that the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for the other shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. I think this is probably going to be fine. Like, he seems pretty sure of this plan, honestly. And I gotta say that Keiichi is a pretty charismatic guy. And, like that charisma and that positivity spreads. So I'm here, like, you know what? I think our boys got it this time. It was fortunate. I remembered what it looked like around the streetlight and the body was near. I noticed how dark it was. It was quite possible I wouldn't have been able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left the place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't crossed my mind, and that's why I had to call it fortunate that I had managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Rank S, big victory! Wow! As long as something dumb doesn't happen, like, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. I mean, why would Tomitake show up at this point in time? That would be really weird. I could see him weasel his way out of being accused like he did in the board game. Yeah, like, he could probably pull that off. Like, just get him in a courtroom, turn this boy loose. He's the next Phoenix Wright. Half the thing had already sunk into a swamp-like pool of water. I only realized afterward that there was an unused irrigation channel right nearby clogged with fallen leaves and dirt, and there were rainwater flowing in from there. My shoes had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation I stepped into the puddle. The whole muddy stream started flowing back, luckily. I couldn't leave any slight traces, like bloodstains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, then turned off the lantern. It became pitch black, but my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments, and once I managed to reach the streetlight on the other side, I was able to make out even the faint lights. I stuck the shovel in the middle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser here than I'd thought, and the shovel's tip easily slid inside it. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose my energy and strength again. It was almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. The digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and the water would go in, so I couldn't get a sense of how deep it was. The only way for me to measure it was to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's all right. Don't be disheartened. Dig, dig, dig. Occasionally a car would come by on the road, and I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing by, though. They wouldn't have their eyes peeled on this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I still couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't quite that one of those cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was that the distance I could spot cars from was getting gradually shorter. At first I noticed the splashing sounds from really far away as cars drove through them. I started noticing them less and less, and with the car that just passed by, I didn't notice it until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look all around me. I roused all my half-asleep senses and searched for signs of a presence nearby. What if I found out someone was spying on me from the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole. I'd come this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I had to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one. My five senses reached the conclusion that nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long had I been digging this mud out of here? It was deep enough for it to go up to my knees. Maybe this was enough. Maybe I'd throw the corpse in as a test. Yeah, Keiichi's all 100% bought in at this point. I swallowed, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse, so instead I dragged it by the feet to the hole. It took more than a waggle and a tug to do it. Boy's busting out that tug tech, even while digging a grave and throwing a body in. This man has unmatched tugging prowess. So much tug. But of course it did. Considering this man's weight was easily 80 kilograms, I rallied all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundless fears that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. Alright, let's bury him. Quickly. I did a perfect job of burying it here. Everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would have ever happened. When I realized I only had a little farther to go to finish everything, I was racked with pointless anxiety, like I was in a race against time. It was like I was absorbed in a delusion, that if I didn't bury the body quickly, that it might come back to life. That's John, always waiting for a tug. In any case, in a great rush, I poured mud and dirt into the hole. If it didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw, I'd just kill them. But not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me, it would all be over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. I drew the surface of the water across the ground, trying to make it flat. It was completely covered in mud at that point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off of my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked with panic, fear, and rain, sweat, and mud. My shoulders heaving, I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down right there and sleep. It was over. This time, for real, it was over. The man was now on the bottom of the wet dirt. Right this moment, there were traces of his place had been dug up, but as the rain and the flowing muddy water would completely cover it all within moments. Yes, it was over. Yeah, he did it, you motherfucker! And then I fell backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there a while, I rested my mind, got up again. It was over. So let's go home. You already buried the whole thing, so now it's like it's never happened. It never happened, so there's no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood up my bike that had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the front basket. I put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I would have done with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corner of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even a bit, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right hand. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars. I was swaying to and fro like a drunk, but I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two bright lights swaying in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no! I had to get out of the way! From far away in the shadows of the darkness, a car appeared. It was dazzling. Its dazzling lights washed over me. The driver made a short honk of the horn to inform me I was in the middle of the road. I had to get out of the way. I kept telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed, I was exhausted and I couldn't do anything. Well, we wobbling now. We big wobbling. I meandered about, not going to the right or the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the way right in front of me, and without lowering its speed much, steadily came toward me. An outline grew large in my vision, and telling myself again that I really needed to get out of the way, I jerked the handlebars in one direction, then lost my balance, and I fell over, bike and all. Oh, this is bad. My whole body splayed out, with one foot caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and as a cold sweat broke out over my skin, the driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn, and came right up to me and stopped. Oh no. The driver's seat door opened, and a driver came out. Domo! You idiot! What are you doing here? I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that. What? It was a woman's voice, and one I knew. I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her. Hey!
Takano-san.
Hi?
こんばんは。
Domo.
月の綺麗な夜ね。
Hey.
前原くん。
How are you doing? It was raining far too hard to see the moon. Takano-san unfolded an umbrella and smiled as she spoke. That smile was for some reason uncanny, like she'd seen right through me. My name is Maebashi. I'm a totally different person right now. Out of all the people I could have met, I got a sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least. Really? I don't know. In a situation like this, who would you rather see least? Oishi or Takano? Maebara-kun, domo.
傘もささずに全身ずぶ濡れの泥まみれで。
No, no, it's Keiichi Maebara.
それは何？シャベル？
Oh, she had come here via car. She wouldn't have known what I was just doing, and yet she smiled as though she knew everything. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. She always makes that mysterious-looking smile. Remember, don't let her onto anything lest you dig your own grave. Wah, wah, wah. Yep, that's me. I was playing baseball with a golf club. I'm getting ready to go play golf with a shovel. It's just I'm a weird sports boy.
そのシャベルもつまりはそういうこと？傘の代わりってわけかしら？
I should tell a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out.
宝探しにダム現場に行った時にこれを忘れてきちゃったんですよ。
それをこの土砂降りの中取りに行ったわけ？
家を出た時は降るとは思いませんでしたので。
あら、降り出したのは結構前よ。あなたずいぶん前から表にいるのね。
まあほっつき歩いてましたから。
それにしたってあなた向こうからこっちに向かってきたんでしょ？ダムとは場所も方向も正反対。
Oh boy, Keiichi is real bad at this lying thing. Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. And as she played her little word games, she was enjoying driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess just from the situation of what I'd been doing. My timing really sucked. I ran into her of all people, of all the time. And at the very end, I could only be frustrated by my terrible luck. I'd done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why at the very, very end did I run into her of all people? What do you do, Keiichi Maebara? You're still holding something that should be a dangerous weapon. Will you... What? Are you... Wow. He's thinking about it. Oh my. Even if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, dealing with the car she'd come in afterward would be an issue. Yeah, get that into the... Yeah, dude, get that into the goddamn swamp. Let's see that. I couldn't drive a car. It was completely different from a motorbike. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof I killed her, yes, tonight's downpour, without any prior planning, but all by coincidence, a hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs or my initials on them, they would never know I killed her. A black flame quietly smoldered and raged in the core of my body. Oh, she's so onto you.
いじめすぎちゃったかしら？
Takano-san started to laugh by herself, then thankfully stopped talking about it. But the dark clouds in my mind didn't go away.
それはそうと。いつまで自転車にまたがったまま地面に這いつくばってるつもり？そろそろどいてくれるかしら？
If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, but then twisted my ankle on it and fell over. Oh. There was a sharp pain in the ankle I'd twisted. This is nonsense. I sprained my ankle now?
大丈夫？ひょっとしてひねっちゃった？
Takano-san squats down and takes a good look at the ankle I keep rubbing. She compares it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was. I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do to shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Takano looked at her watch and then at her card. After thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door, and then gave me her shoulder to stand up with.
家まで送るわ。なんだか私が羽田みたいで嫌な気持ちだけどね。
What a good girl! What a good girl. She's gonna take us home, guys. It's fine.
すみません。
見捨てるのも気の毒だし。
What a good girl. She wouldn't just leave us
私
here
が
in the
優
rain.
しい人でよかったわね。
Takano going full omochikairi on us. Oh my. Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person, but that would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. I took Takano's hands and sat on the passenger seat. Takano-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the
自
ground.
転車は後日ってことにはならない。
I could clearly tell from her face that she thought it would be a pain since it would be heavy and it would get the car dirty. But my bike has the name Maebara written on it. I couldn't leave it out here like this.
そのなんとか車に詰めませんか。ないと困るんで。
トランクはもういっぱいなの。後部座席なんかに積んだらシートが泥で汚れちゃうわ。まあ、あなたを乗せた時点でもう十分に汚れてるんだけれど。
I turned to the back seat and see someone's folding bicycle there already. It still looked like enough to fit my bike in there though as well. My expression reflected my thoughts and the exact moment seemed to get through to her.
わかったわ、わかったわ。積んであげる。今夜だけはお姉さんも優しくしてあげるわ。
Dude, what a good girl. She's really going above and beyond. She is getting her damn car seats dirty for us. What a bro. Takano-san continued with her mean jokes, but she hoisted my bike and loaded it into the back seat for me. The mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about that eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the buried body and to me.
ついでで申し訳ないんですけど、シャベルもお願いしていいですか。
Takano-san gave me a clearly dubious
シャベ
expression.
ル？別にいいけど大事なもの？
The more I talk, the worse it gets for me. That's how I feel, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takano-san gave a short shrug and sighed.
はいはい、わかったわ。僕はシャベルがないと困っちゃうんでしょ。そんな怖い目しなくてもいいわよ。
Takano-san brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I'd never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look.
じゃあ行くわよ。前原くんのお家ってあの前原屋敷でいいんでしょ。
なんでみんなうちのことを前原屋敷って呼ぶんですか。
だって現にお屋敷じゃない。お金持ちが羨ましいわ。
As she spoke, Takano-san pulled the handbrake. That's not how you spell brake in this instance. And stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she steadily increased in speed. From her rearview mirror, the accursed place seemed to melt into the darkness.
誰と？
What?
すみません。よく聞こえませんでした。今なんて。
Takano-san suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly, I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing one more time.
死体。上手に埋められた。
Hello? I thought my heart might beat out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. But my lungs were squeezed tight and I couldn't breathe.
何を言ってるんですか。
こういう山奥に死体を埋めるときはね、結構深く掘らないと野犬とかが匂いを嗅ぎつけて掘り返しちゃうことも多いのよ。
Wild dogs? You mean like mountain dogs? Like maybe Yama Inu? Maybe? I
野
don't
犬が
know.
加えて
That's
た
just me
人
taking
骨
a
で
guess.
事件が発覚。警察一帯を山狩りへなんて結構ないことじゃないのよ。
Huge rustled bells start ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could say it was absolutely wouldn't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with that I couldn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait, anyway, this woman, how does she know? She had just passed by there in her car by coincidence, and we ran into each other by coincidence. If she had been watching the entire thing from the trees, and once I left, she came back in her car? It didn't make logical sense. So then why? Keiichi Maebara, this is it. You need to kill her. My entire body reawakened, and I could feel my pupils dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death with a shovel in such a small car. Then I would use my hands and strangle her. But she was driving right now. If I strangled her, we might get into an accident. Then suddenly Takano-san turned and looked at
ボ
me.
ケもツッコミもなし。
For a moment, I was surprised. What was she talking
私た
about?
ちあんまり相性は良くないみたいね。
Takano-san said, disappointed, returning her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she'd said a few times in my head and finally realized she'd meant it as an off-color joke. I didn't know whether it was really a joke, but I wouldn't be able to fool her no matter how many lies I told. Right now, with her driving her car like this, I couldn't kill her. I would have an even harder time doing it when we got back to my house. The moment we met, that had been my best chance, and to have missed it so easily, it hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I run into? With everything that happened today, I managed to pull it off, and at the very end of it all, I just had to go home and go back to sleep. What bad luck. Yeah, kid, I know creepy when I see it. You're real fucking creepy right now. My sleepiness gradually overtook me, and the anxiety I felt steadily started to matter less and less. Is this all right, Keiichi Maebara? You probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now, I'm tired. She stepped on the brakes and I jerked against my seatbelt. That woke me up. I thought I must have fallen asleep by accident. I looked out the window and there was a big building with faint lights on. It was really dark out, but I knew immediately it was my house.
ご家族を呼んでくるわね。
She's gonna drain Kmart dry. Oh my god.
少しの間だけど、一人でお留守番できるかしら。
バカにしないでください。それにほら、もう大丈夫です。一人で歩けますから。
あらあら、さっきは痛そうな顔して肩まで借りたのに。ひょっとしてお姉さんに甘えてみた
Oh, she saw through him. She saw through his games. As Takano-san spoke, she left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling raindrops was fierce, as always. I carefully reached down and rubbed the ankle I'd twisted. There was still some pain and a little weirdness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than being happy about how light the wound was, I first regretted this whole thing. If I hadn't twisted my ankle, I could have still taken the option of killing Takano-san right then and there. There probably wasn't much doubt that Takano-san was convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. If she knew about everything happening with Satoko, then she might have even guessed I'd killed somebody. Takano-san opened the passenger side door for me.
本当に肩は必要ないかしら。もう一回だけ甘えてもいいのよ。
I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car by myself. The rain was still pretty intense. I got my bicycle out of the back seat. I was a bit curious what the other bike belonged to, but that didn't matter right now. I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me and then pushed my bicycle up to the front door.
ありがとうございます。もうここまでで大丈夫です。
My ankle hurt so much earlier, and it still did, but it aggravated me that it hadn't even been that bad. It was really seriously terrible luck.
じゃあ私はこれで失礼するわね。前原君と二人きりで夜のドライブだったなんてみんなに
My oh my.
特に二郎さんにはね。
Ooh, don't tell Jiro-san. Oh no. don't tell him. Jiro-san. Oh, she meant Tomitake-san. I suppose she calls him by his first name. His full name would be Jiro Tomitake then. And then the other bike, the folding one in the back seat that I didn't care about at first, suddenly came to mind. Hey, excuse me, you're from Hinamizawa, right? On the day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam, half asleep, Tomitake-san had talked to me. And the bicycle he'd been riding, it was...
あの後ろに積んであった自転車、富武さんのですよね。
Takano-san's eyes, I think they sharpened for a moment.
どうしてそう思うのかし
以前に会った時見てますから。フレームも特徴的でしたし。
ら。でもおかしくないかしら。この自転車が二郎さんのものだなんてことありえると思う？
おかしいって。
Takano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peers into my eyes.
だってひなみ沢には民宿なんてないのよ。なら二郎さんは町に泊まっていることになるわよね。
そうなんですか？まあそうならそうなんじゃないですか。
町からひなみ沢まではとても歩いてなんか行き来できないわよね。バスだって走ってないし、せめて自転車くらいはなきゃね。
She didn't need to tell me that. That's why Jiro-san was riding a bike.
その二郎さんの自転車が私の車に積んであって、二郎さんは私の車に乗っていないならおかしいじゃない。
I get that reference.
二郎さんはひなみ沢で自転車なしってことになっちゃうわよ。二郎さんを放っておいて自転車だけが私の車に積んであるなんてね。ありえないでしょ。
As she spoke, Takano-san made eyes like a hawk. Unfortunately, I didn't really understand what was so odd.
それの何がおかしいんですか？高野さんは富武さんとは仲がいいんですよね。何かのようで自転車を積んであげたって別におかしいことだとは思わないですけれど。
そうじゃないでしょ。つまりこのひなみ沢において二郎さんとその自転車がバラバラに存在することはありえないということなのよ。以上の理由からこの自転車が二郎さんのものであるわけがない。理解できたかしら？
Takano-san's roundabout way of talking was hard to comprehend, but that eeriness I could feel, that vague dreadfulness, I didn't like it at all. But for the most wild and distinctive part of me, warned me not to pry.
あれは私の自転車なのよ。
Oh, okay, it's just her bicycle. She just has a 5-minute explanation as to why it's her bicycle.
二郎さんに選んでもらったからセンスが似てるのは間違いないけれどね。
あ、そうだったんですか。道理で見てると。
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
Excuse me? I think we need a lawyer after this conversation. Also, really good CG. And now she was talking about something completely different.
何を言ってるんですか？
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
I stayed there not knowing what to say, and Takano-san repeated her eerie, succinct phrase to me once again.
私とあなた今夜
Yeah, Keiichi needs a lawyer for a few reasons, obviously.
私とあなた出会わなかった。
Something cold and unpleasant crawled up my spine. I knew because I killed a person with my own hands before. Before, I came to the conclusion that I only had one chance to beat this woman to death and keep her quiet, and I couldn't hesitate. So I could tell that she'd arrived at the very same conclusion. My instincts warned me again. I wish I'd never met this woman. A faint sense of like rotten smell. The faint sense like a rotten smell drifting from this woman was no doubt the same exact sense I was giving off right now. The very peculiar aspiration, the lack of uncertainty to taking a human's life for a purpose, one that only those who have risen above everything had. Actually, maybe I should have called it nausea. It meant, and I didn't know how to explain this very well, that Takano-san was the same as me. In other words, someone who shouldn't have been here. Someone I couldn't have let anybody know I was here. Someone who nobody would have wanted to see. And now that we could calmly pretend as though we had never met. Yes, which meant that just like I wanted to have nothing else to do with her, she didn't want anything to do with me either. And she too wanted to make it so that we'd never met. Both of us wished for the same thing. Our desires were the same, which meant Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical, and that I could outright refuse.
それでいいならそういうことでもいいです。俺と高野さんは今夜出会わなかった。
そうよね。あなたにとってもその方がいいでしょうか。
どうしてそう思うんですか。
いちいちうるさいわね。それくらい自分で考えられないの、坊や。
Whoa. Okay. She cut me off with a condescending word, boy. Right in front of my house, in a place most unsuited to killing, and yet there was a frozen thirst for blood coming from the both of us. I would be killed right here, right now. Yeah, then I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A damp, greasy sweat broke out on my body. That's fine. If you want me, then you can come any time. And when I made up my mind, she shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel.
よかったわね。私が優しい人で。
What was good? How? Because she was a kind person? Was that it? I didn't get it. Takano-san got into the car. We didn't exchange any words of parting. I had performed a massive feat, the killing of Satoko's uncle, and yet I didn't feel any accomplishment. On the holy night of Oyashiro-sama's curse, on which taking another's life was allowed, on this terribly rainy night when the demons wandered as agents of Oyashiro-sama's will, the demons were never supposed to meet, but suddenly they did. The demons parted ways triumphantly. There was no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had been accomplished. With the rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met with Takano-san's through the car window. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. The very first moment we saw each other had been my best chance. And now that we had parted like this, I was acutely aware of it. I should not have let her live. She beeped the horn quickly, and then her car drove away in the deluge. One woman who knew what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, the night would never really end. Just get into an accident, I thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on some mud or something. Fly face first into a tree and die. That wasn't a delusion, a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish, yes. It was a command. Die. Die. And keep your mouth shut for eternity, because I have no doubt you're wishing for me to die all the same. My curse upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's taillights disappeared into the darkness. Frames are fucking up? Yeah, it looks like we had a little bit of a drop there. But it looks to have stabilized. It seems like we're good. Yeah, like, I guess that's just my cool new thing now. That's my quirk. Her car's lights were completely out of sight now. Even the sound of the engine faded to the sound of heavy rain and was inaudible now. I too turned on my heel. To draw the curtains in this insane night, to open my front door and end it all, I began walking towards the front door. I was covered in mud and I made a squishing sound with every step I took. Don't worry, Keiichi, my bad. She'll die. Her end will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into some flames alive and let her dance until she's burned to a crisp. I'll burn her to ashes in the fires of hell itself until she's roasted as much as she deserves.
そう願うぜ。本気でな。
Huh? Just now, I hadn't taken a step, and yet, a footstep. Without emotion, I turned around. If there was a footprint that wasn't my own, then it was obvious someone was behind me. Was somebody else there? I was sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. This time, I would kill them. I'd kill them without a second thought. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. Jesus, boy! You need to calm down. Calm them tits. But fortunately, there was nobody there. I wasn't going to have to kill any more people tonight. This night, I couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I put it down to me just being tired. Woo! Boy! Our boy Keiichi. He had him a bit of a night. Alright. So I know we accidentally forgot to read the tips from the previous chapter. So we'll do that. I need like a second or two. So I'll be back in like a minute or so. Alright. Just have ourselves a few tips here to read. So let's, I think there should be 3 because, okay, no, we need to go back actually. We need to view all tips. Because we forgot to view the tip on the last chapter, which would be, let's see. I mean, we did forget, I'm pretty sure. I'm an idiot because I don't know what the other tips that we missed were. There you go. Did we? Like, I am pretty sure we did not read those coming back from break. The ones that came from the previous chapter. And I don't remember what their names were. So we'll just do the 2. No, we did D23 number 44 and from the... I don't know. You know what? I'll watch the VOD and we'll hit them at the start of the next stream or something. Like, I don't remember what they were. So... Alright. Fire from Hell. Let us go. The Red Book Murder? The Red Book Murder. I'll have to look then.
消防です。火事ですか？事故ですか？落ち着いて話してください。多分火事だと思います。 こちらは中部高速の下級地サービスエリアなんですけどね、裏の山からなんだかすっごい火と煙が上がってるのが見えるんですよ。あんなところ誰も立ち入らないから、なんで火がついてるのかよくわかんないですけど、とにかく連絡した方がいいと思って。山火事にならないとも限らないし。
You know, something that can be done on Twitch is you could go in and you could look at the VOD in progress, and you could go back and skim back a bit and see where that last chapter ended before we took our first break, and see like what tip unlocked there, and I could go look at it if anybody wants to do that. I don't know if anybody wants to do that, but whatever.
わかりました。すぐに現場を確認しますので、そちら様のお名前とすぐに連絡のつく電話番号、それから火災現場の詳細な場所をお願いします。
消防司令部より通達。 G ブロック西側山斜面にて不審火の通報あり。街道から離れていることからカップルの焚き火か不法投棄のゴミに放火した可能性があります。現場は深い森林地帯、周辺に民家はないが延焼の可能性あり。直ちに現場を確認されたし。
消防署ですか。こちらは G ブロック第3消防分隊です。通報の現場にさっき到着。ドラム缶が一つ山中に放棄され炎上しているのを確認しました。火は鎮火しつつあり、延焼の可能性はなしで、そのドラム缶の中に多分
Oh jeez, somebody got burned up.
灯油か何かで焼かれたという感じで。
So we got the actual report of somebody being found in a barrel burnt up.
その警察の人にも連絡した方がいいんじゃないかと思いまして。
That's probably fine.
間違いねえよ。
Yeah, Goemon's bath without the water. Not wrong. And victim of the 5th year. I imagine they're gonna find the body?
今年のタタリってことっすかね。
What's going on here?
そういうことになるんですかね。毎年いろんな殺し方を見せてくれますが、今年は特に際立っていますね。
自分で自分の喉を突き破るなんて
What?
普通じゃないっす。
What's going on now? What is this?
あとは鑑識のじい様に任せましょう。きっと何かの怪しげな薬物を検出してくれるに違いありません。
お疲れ様です。お疲れ様です。
ああ、大石さん、小宮山さんたちが到着しました。
大石さん、お疲れ様です。今年は一等来てるのが出たらしいじゃないですか。
裏を書かれました。私はてっきり今夜死ぬのは北条哲平だとばかり思ってたんですがね。
仏は何者です？
富武二郎。何回かひなみ沢に来てる市民のです。ノーマークだったな。
どうなんでしょうね。北条宅にずっと張り付いてたのがバレてターゲットを変更したとか
かな。恨めったな。
Oh, wowee.
北条哲平の方は何も問題なし。
ねえ、夕方頃に娘が祭りに出かけて、その少し後にバイクで出かけまして、先に娘が帰ってきて、あれまだ帰ってないかな。どっかで飲んだくれてるのかな。
大石さんいらっしゃいますか。高杉課長からです。
That's probably bad.
1号車の無線にお願いします。